Hello, my name is Kathy, and today I'll continue the discussion on dreams. Today we will discuss daydreams. But before I do this, I wanted to let you know that because I have a great many videos now on many different topics, that I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easier to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Daydreams are such common diversions that we rarely give them much thought. In fact, we often apologize for them. Even dream researchers tend to be dismissive of daydreams, ignoring how affirming, how informative, how stress-relieving, and how expansive daydreams can be. Daydreams are the spontaneous creation of images or scenarios, most often concerning either factual or fictional versions of past, present, or anticipated future events in our lives. We use them to relive treasured moments, to rehearse for upcoming situations, to play out a variety of options in our approach to a previous or upcoming circumstance, to identify with some outside circumstance that has captured our attention, or just to escape into remote viewing or pure fantasy. If you are one of those people who dream you are incapable of meditating, the only significant difference between daydreams and meditation is that we don't deliberately induce daydreams. In fact, we rarely, if ever, see them coming, and we're not even aware of them until we are already having them, just as often, until they have ended. Usually, when we think of daydream, we think of brief, pleasant little mental opportunities to wander off for a few moments, an unplanned trick, or everyone else in the room who will swear we were every bit as present and accounted for as they are. Just as there are ways to make our night dreams work more to our benefit, there are ways we can see to it that our daydreams can do the very same thing for us. We can learn a lot about ourselves through our daydreams, and we can also program ourselves to rewrite them, exactly as we can with our night dreams, to keep them positive and affirming, rather than letting them reinforce our negativity as they sometimes try to do. It's very important for our mental, physical, and emotional health to take a zero-tolerance stand on negativity. It's an indulgence we don't need and can't afford, because it's simply a fact that what we think, we create. If you doubt that, look around right this minute and try to point to something that would exist without someone having thought of it first. Everything in existence began as a thought. Thoughts are so powerful that they are our primary mode of transportation on the other side, wherever we want to be, we just think ourselves there. They are so powerful that here on Earth, we can be cured of all sorts of illnesses by a pill we find out later was just a placebo we thought would work. They are so powerful that they make true the cliche that what goes around comes around. Put out negativity, you will get back negativity. Put out deceit, you will get back deceit. Put out kindness, and you will get back kindness. And they are why we need to monitor our daydreams and make sure we don't take them so much for granted that we inadvertently let them undermine us. There are 6 basic areas with which daydreams seem to concern themselves, many of which I'm sure we all experienced at one time or another. The first area is the success daydream, from acing a test to putting in an especially brilliant performance at work, to preparing the perfect Thanksgiving dinner without a hitch, to excelling at a sporting event, to meeting a job deadline, to gracefully and cleverly winning an argument or negotiating a deal, to effectively delivering a speech, to flawlessly performing a piece of music, to curing a patient's illness, to winning the lottery, to helping a child with a difficult problem, to cheering up a depressed friend, to navigating confidently through an awkward conversation. Our success daydreams, whether they are memories or rehearsals, are wonderful affirmations, helpful reminders of our priorities, our goals, and our potentials. The second area is the love and romance daydream. Replaying past cherished moments with loved ones, looking forward to new ones, reliving the exhilaration and security and sense of belonging love can provide, anticipating some wonderful surprises or vacations we are planning with a loved one, silently marveling over the enhanced kindness and thoughtfulness and self-confidence love can inspire. Our love and romance daydreams are lovely, worthwhile ways of maintaining and flexing this most essential part of ourselves. The third area is the heroism daydream. Whether we are pulling a stranger from a burning car or uncovering the one piece of evidence that can save the defendant from being wrongly convicted of a crime, or scoring the winning field goal, or snatching victory from the jaws of defeat in a business meeting, or locating a missing child, or single-handedly subduing an unruly airplane passenger, or performing life-saving surgery, or being named Lifeguard of the Year, or handing a loved one the mortgage payment that will save the house from foreclosure, or performing any other act in which we and we alone save the day. Heroism daydreams can be thrilling, there's no doubt about it. But if you find that your heroism daydreams are becoming too frequent, you might want to start asking yourself if there's something going on in your life or not going on in your life that you should take a look at or get help with. These daydreams can indicate that you're feeling unappreciated, underrated, or chronically disrespected, which can lead to anger and resentment if you don't tackle the problem head on. Heroism daydreams can also indicate that you're still clinging to guilt and regret from some past event where you feel you let someone down, when you could have made a difference but stood idly by instead. If that is the case, these daydreams are actually reminding you of some perceived failure. A far better solution is to forgive yourself. Make any amends that you might owe and start making a difference from this day forward. The fourth area is fantasy daydreams. We are lying on the gleaming deck of a yacht off the shore of the French Riviera, surrounded by happy, loving ones, being served lunch by our attentive staff. We are alone, driving, sharing our car with our favorite music and our most reassuring possessions, heading to a whole new life in whatever town strikes our fancy, starting over with a new name, a clean slate, and no responsibilities to anyone but ourselves. We are the most popular ski instructor in the ski Alps. We are touring the poetic South Seas islands we have just bought. We are in our own wild animal reserve in the heart of Africa with gentle lions and adoring tigers eating out of our hands. Escaping through daydreaming can be exciting, healthy, and a great way of learning where our fantasies take us when we are free to indulge them. As with so many other enjoyable things in life, the key is moderation. Having too many fantasy daydreams too frequently can be a red flag that we're feeling trapped, that we're in a rut, that we are feeling more and more oppressed, or that our stress level is heading toward its breaking point. The fifth area is failure and crisis daydreams. Your boss calls you into his offices and says that he has finally realized what an inept loser you really are. You're fired. A loved one is undergoing surgery and you play out the scenario of being told they didn't make it. You are giving a solo ballet recital for thousands of people and come whirling out on stage and tumble right into the orchestra pit. Your spouse or lover announces that they're leaving you for someone else and that, frankly, they never really loved you in the first place. A tornado hits your house and you're unable to get your family safely in time. You stand up in front of your peers to give a highly anticipated speech and suddenly discover you left it at home and you can't think of a single thing to say. We all have had failure and crisis daydreams. It's a natural defense against possibilities that frighten us. As if by imagining ourselves through the very worst case scenarios, we will feel more prepared for whatever the outcome really is. We need to program ourselves to rewrite these types of daydreams into happy, positive, affirming endings. As with release dreams during sleep, failure and crisis daydreams give us a chance to acknowledge and vent our fears, but allowing them to end in defeat time after time is to reinforce our self-doubts, our insecurities, and whatever negativity we are harboring. We can create the very outcomes we fear the most by allowing our thoughts to give them energy, and some semblance of realism, and self-fulfilling prophecies can be very hard to recover from. Programming ourselves to write positive endings for our failure and crisis daydreams is exactly the same process as programming ourselves to write positive endings for our release dreams. We just offer the affirmation about our daydreams shortly after waking up, rather than shortly before we go to sleep. We can't anticipate daydreams any more than we can anticipate release dreams, but we certainly know that we will daydream, and we know the general nature of our own daydreams, so it's a safe bet that we start every morning with this brief affirmation to the Creator. It will come handy sooner or later. Please help me experience any negativity my mind might create in my daydreams and then release it, transforming it into affirmations of my power, my courage, my capacity to give and receive love, and my awareness that through you, there is nothing that I can't endure. The sixth area is spontaneous astral trips and remote viewing. Technically, astral trips are too real to qualify as daydreams, just as they're too real to qualify as night dreams. But since we do occasionally find ourselves taking astral breaks in what would normally be, for lack of a better term, our daydream breaks, they are certainly worth mentioning. One minute we are suffering through the world's most boring meeting, movie, dinner party, conversation, chore, whatever, and the next minute, through no effort on our part at all, we're strolling through our childhood home, or chatting with a deceased loved one, or revisiting a past life, or hovering above the people we are with, looking for bald spots. Just as with astral travel at night, there will always be a logical sequence of events in an astral daydream. No matter how brief, and getting that same feeling of flying isn't uncommon. Spontaneous remote viewing during the day is much less common, but it does happen, and it can be upsetting if it catches us off guard. In this example of a spontaneous remote viewing daydream, we have a man that has a job that isn't exactly a mental challenge, and he readily admits that he daydreams a lot, but this kind of daydream has never happened before. He had a huge pile of filing on his desk, and he remembered starting to work on it. Then suddenly he was watching a scene on a 2-lane highway near a small town in Utah. This man had never been to Utah, and he never heard of this town before. He didn't know it existed until he checked it out on the internet. A blue, fairly new car with a man and a woman in it was going around a blind curve, and they were run off the road by a white pickup with a big primer paint spots on its driver's side that was headed right for them in their lane. The blue car hit a tree, and he knew the people inside were hurt, but he didn't know how badly. The white pickup swerved and slowed down for a second, and then the driver took off without ever checking to see if these people needed help. He saw his face so clearly, and he could easily recognize him again. Somehow he knew that he had been up all night partying and caused this accident because he dozed off at the wheel. Then the man was at his desk again, almost finished with his work, with no conscious memory of having done any of it. He said that he did not know any of these people and didn't have a feeling that this accident had anything to do with him at all. He wondered what in the world would have made him have such an upsetting daydream like that about total strangers in a place he had never been. This was definitely a remote viewing experience, and especially interesting because it was so completely spontaneous and unexpected, and clearly not routine in this man's life. Never pass up an opportunity is probably the most important message when it comes to lucid dreams and daydreams, once we recognize them as opportunities, as opposed to just passing events, we neither ask for nor control. We can use them as affirmations, as connections to magical gifts that we have been given. I have a great many videos now on many different topics, and so I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easier to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Well, that's it for now. To stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this free YouTube channel by clicking the red subscribe button right below this video. Take care.